Hey everyone, this is PrinceWatercress, and welcome back to Let's Play Kirby's Dream Land 3. After the horrendous attempts at getting 100%, I still am disappointed with that video, honestly. It's time to do the abilities video that I've been promising for some time. So let's go ahead and go to 3.6, and I'll make my way into the Obsidian Pyramid as I talk about things. So I've talked about the developers apparently getting the phrase fixing what's broken with fix things that are perfectly normal and fine and good and everything. Such as with how the minigames were handled, and some of the controls, such as Kirby walking slow whenever you don't dash. I'm only going fast because I'm going on a conveyor belt full of sand there. And last time I ever talk about this, I don't always want easy, but I always want possible. And I feel like the minigame rushes in this game were crossing the line. Once again, I don't hate this game, it's just that I wish some things were really handled differently. So, this abilities video brings up another gripe I have. So, some of the animal ability combos are really nerfed. I wouldn't say really nerfed, but like, they're definitely nerfed from how good they were in Kirby's Dream Land 2. And that's not the door I want to go in. It's this one. So, here we go. With our first ability, this is Cutter. Cutter allows Kirby to throw a boomerang. I like the range on this, it's nice. And he throws it rather quickly too, so that's a good thing. Up next is Broom, which lets you sweep forward. Not as much range as Cutter, but I like this just the same. And you can use it to get a hard star, I think in either World 2 or 3, I forgot already. But anyway, here's Spark. This basically allows Kirby to electrify himself, and should any enemies get right in front of him, they're pretty much done. And up next is Needle, which turns Kirby into a ball of needles. You can hold the button down to keep the ability going for longer. Just like Spike, enemies had to be close in order for it to do any damage. Ow. And here is Stone. You drop down, Kirby hits the ground, though you don't necessarily have to jump before using this attack. And the clouds that this stone makes will also hurt enemies, along with the stone form itself. Enemies will also pass through Kirby whenever he uses it, as long as he's in this stone form, which he actually stays in indefinitely until you press a button, unlike other games where you could only hold it for so long. So, an ability actually got improved in this game. That's something. Fireball. Doesn't seem to go that far. I mean, I like it. Anything that Kirby touches while as a fireball is pretty much toast, but I feel like this one was also nerfed. Here's Ice. You got a flame breath that you... Not a flame breath, but a nice breath that you can aim upwards. Can't aim it downwards for some reason, which is kind of lame, because, hey, you might want to use it on a slope or something. If you freeze any enemies, they turn into a block of ice. You can either let it disappear, or you can move into it to send it forward and attack any enemies that are in the path of the moving ice block. And here is Parasol. Not only can you attack enemies with the Parasol, but you also float if you are in mid-air while holding the Parasol. I think. I've never actually gotten it to happen, and I don't know if it will. I may have to check here. Hold on. I'm going to go ahead and go into an animal buddy room just to see if it even works that way anyway. Oh, you have to hold up to get the float ability to happen. Okay, no, you don't have to hold it. You just have to tap it. Not sure how to feel about that. I guess it could be a little crazy if you were used to Kirby Superstar. But I do like that. That is interesting. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to start doing the animal buddies, starting with the older ones first. And in case I take, like, a lot of damage, I'll definitely get some pet brews between animals. So let's see here. Rick and Stone. This turns Rick into a boulder that Kirby can ride on. If you run into any enemies, they get squashed. And I hate the fact that you can't inhale enemies with Rick anymore. Rick and Fire lets you breathe fire. The only drawback is that you can't aim it upwards or downwards. But I do feel like it does cover a good close range. So maybe that may not be a problem for you, but I still would have liked the ability to aim it. Rick and Ice. You become a snowman, basically. If anybody touches Kirby or these little snowballs that come off of them, they get frozen. And you know what to do with frozen enemies at that point. Rick and Parasol does this. I like the animation on Kirby's Dream Land 2 version of this better. But this is basically the same as Kirby's Dream Land 2. Rick bounces Kirby in ball form on Parasol, and you can attack enemies with it from close range. Weird ability, but I do like it. Rick and Cutter. This one works a little differently. I don't necessarily count it as a nerf. This feels more like an improvement. You throw the boomerang like you did in Dreamland 2, but you can actually move Rick back and forth, and he actually turns around and moves back and forth while Kirby is flying around in boomerang form, and Kirby will always return to you. But at least he's not in that frame of animation where he's just thrown the boomerang and just hopping up and down like a little bit, and he was really vulnerable when you were moving him around during this attack in Dreamland 2. Here, not so much. And you can even dash, which really makes this a good ability to have. Rick and Broom. You attack enemies with a Feather Duster. Okay, close range attack. I like it. And here is Rick and Spark, which lets you shoot this little beam upwards and downwards. It does this little sweep shot that goes up to down. It doesn't cover anything that is like up close and above Rick or up close and below him like it did in Dreamland 2. I could be wrong on that. But still. And Rick and Needle lets you shoot needles out of Rick's back. You can keep holding the attack down to keep it going indefinitely. Just make sure you're facing away from what you want to hit. Only real drawback. Oh, I'm already done here. Let's go ahead and return Rick and get Ku. Or, no, let's get Kind first. Because that's apparently how the order is in this room. And this is going to be interesting. Here is Kind plus Fire. He shoots this little fireball ability that, or this little fireball projectile rather, that goes through walls, especially star blocks and ice blocks. I do like it. Very, very good range. And here's Kind and Ice, which I've never shown off before. When you press Y, Kind will freeze themselves into a block of ice. If anything hits them, they're going to get frozen too. I don't think I ever use this, though. I could be wrong. Kind and Parasol. Well, we used this to get one of the heart stars. Ironically, it was in this very level, 3-6. Basically, you can attack stuff from close range with this, but you can also float on a Parasol with Kind. Best way to do that. And here's Kind and Cutter. Not the best range. You spit out a little projectile. It doesn't have the exact range as Kind plus Fireball, but it's still a worthy combination to have. Kind and Broom has Kind spitting out a plunger. Does this do virtually anything? Huh. Okay, so that's how that works. You hold Y, you move towards an enemy, and from there you can move forwards or back, and you can even dash. And as soon as you let go of Y, you send the other guy towards the wall. Well, I tried to make that look majestic, but it didn't quite work, now did it? And here's Kind and Spark. Kind brings back the little light bulb ability, but here's the thing though. If you hold it for long enough, the light bulb breaks, you leave yourself vulnerable to attack, and if you let it go before then, he just puts it back in his mouth. This is one of the abilities that I felt was nerfed horribly, because in Dreamland 2, you could keep the light going on indefinitely, and the light bulb also doubled as a projectile when you let go of the B button in that game. You know, yeah, that's a pretty bad downgrade. Kind of Needle, just like in Dreamland 2. Kind and Kirby both have needles coming out of them. And it's pretty obvious what... Oh, no. Well, it's basically the same. Almost. As Dreamland 2. But this time, Kirby is a stone. And you have to be in the air for this to work. You have to be in the air to hit the ground so that dust clouds are made that will attack enemies. Not the most efficient attack. Definitely not the most efficient. So, now that that's out of the way, thank you, Kind, for spinning me towards Ku so I can make this a little more easy to do. We're now going to do Ku's things. Ku plus Fireball has featured prominently for one of the Heart Stars here. I believe it was in World 5. Basically, Kirby turns into a Fireball while Ku is holding him, and you fly downwards diagonally. And if you hit anything, such as an enemy or an ice block or a star block, it gets demolished. Ku and Ice. Ooh, I wish I used this during the Let's Play. You get a nice little three-way shot, and I love it. Anything gets hit by those ice crystals, they're getting frozen. And here is Ku and Parasol, just like in Dreamland 2. You spin around. And... Huh, that's interesting. If you're going left, Ku spins to the right. Or if you're facing left. If you're facing to the right, Ku spins to the left. Interesting. Just like the Dreamland 2 attack, but it doesn't last as long. So it was nerfed, but not a whole lot. Here's one that did get nerfed, though. Ku and Cutter. Instead of a three-way shot, you get one big feather boomerang thing. You can aim it up and down, though, so not all is horribly lost. And Ku and Broom gives you the Ku as a Feather Duster. You can hold the Y button indefinitely to keep the attack going. Just be prepared to fall down a little bit in case you use it in midair, because you will be falling a little bit. Or rather, you'll be falling until you hit the ground. And that's not what I wanted, but that was a pretty cool way to show off Ku and Spark. You can keep the button down indefinitely to keep the attack going. You basically strike anything from above with a Thunderbolt, pretty much like Kracko. Needlework's kind of the same way, but you just don't have the range. Animation's a little different from Dreamland 2, but I can deal with it. Also, you had to be directly below an enemy for it to do damage, and here's the stone form for a Koopa Stone. Once again, you had to be any distance in the air in order to create those dust clouds to defeat your enemies. And it really seems like the stone attacks, at least the dust clouds, don't have the best range. You've got to be really up close with enemies. So I'm going to go ahead and try out the new animal buddies, starting with Choo Choo here. And let's see here. I can't believe I got hit right there. There is fire. You can hold Y to spit fire indefinitely, but if you hold B while holding Y, you can do this little blimp move that will attack ice blocks from below and even attack enemies. This is also better than the infinite jump that you have with Choo Choo, because eventually you'll just be trying to float for dear life once you start using that after a few hops. Choo Choo in ice has Kirby spitting snowballs and Choo Choo flinging them everywhere. This one has a good amount of range, and you can randomly hit stuff that are coming at you from above too. And Choo Choo plus Parasol equals Wii. You can move left and right while holding Y to spin around and hit enemies. And you go rather fast while doing it too, which is pretty cool. Choo Choo plus Cutter is really weird because Choo Choo becomes the Cutter Blade and Kirby just spins her around. Just cleave everything like she's an axe. And Choo Choo plus Broom is one of my favorites. You fly around just by holding Y and moving around with the control pad. The sparkles at the back of the broom will actually hit enemies, so if you want to hit anything, just face away from it. Pretty versatile. And here's Choo Choo plus Spark, a little laser beam that you can charge up. If you charge it up a little bit, it'll be able to bounce off walls. I believe it can do up to 5 bounces before it finally just dies before attempting the 6th one. Very nice one. I believe you can use it on slopes and it'll just go upwards like in Kirby's Adventure. Choo Choo plus Needle is a 5-way needle shot. Good range. You can even attack enemies behind you, which is really cool. And Choo Choo plus Stone is pretty much like Choo Choo versus Parasol, but you seem to have a bit more reach with this. Only drawback is you can't go as fast as you would with Parasol. Then again, Kirby is a stone, so it kind of makes sense. And now we are going to use Nago. I like Nago. Shame this is the last time we're ever going to see him. I'll go ahead and use the Pet Brew, why not? And let's go ahead and use Fire here. And wow, this does not cover an entire screen, but Nago plus Fire, which we have seen before, goes pretty far. Really nice ability if you can get your hands on it. And here's Nago plus Ice, we saw this earlier. Basically, Kirby breathes an ice breath downwards, and it allows Nago to fly. And you can keep the button held down indefinitely to not only keep on flying, but keep on freezing any enemies below you. Nago plus Parasol is this little pogo attack. As long as you keep holding Y, Nago will keep jumping up and down like he's on a pogo stick while Kirby is in Parasol form. You have to be right on top of enemies in order to hit them, though. And here's Nago plus Cutter, which I believe is one of the very first ability combinations that I showed off. It just shoots off this little wave beam at a 45-degree angle. Only useful at really close range, but it will definitely take out any airborne enemies that are in its path. And Nago plus Broom turns Kirby into a little bounty paper towel or a Brillo pad or something. You can't change direction for as long as you're holding Y, so there is that. But it is a rather funny ability, and you can just plow through enemies. Nago plus Spark gives you static electricity because it's a cat thing. And the longer you hold it down, the bigger the sparks become, and the longer the effect lasts. While you are under the effects of the static electricity attack, you can run into enemies, and the little sparks that come out of you will damage them. This also lasts a pretty good while if you hold it down and get the sparks at their maximum size. It's a pretty good attack, albeit a very close range one, but still. This one is a little overpowered for what it is. I'm still waiting for this thing to disappear. Does it disappear after a while? I know it does because I've seen it happen. Do you have to move around? I know you gotta move around. Oh my. Well, that lasted a long time. Maybe it's because I just held Y down for a very long time. But here's Nago plus Needle. Keep holding it down. You'll keep alternating between a middle, a low, and a high needle shot. Can be useful at close range. And with a little bit of distance, of course. This one's a much more closer range attack than, again, all the stone abilities are. Nago plus stone is no different. But you do have the odd added hilarity of Nago hitting Kirby in stone form on the ground, which is kind of funny. And we're now entering the last set of ability combinations. We're now saving Pitch for last. Poor guy, I never use you often enough. I never use you often enough at all. And I feel bad because of that. Pitch is a cool little bird. He does have some rather wacky ability combinations. It's just a shame I never really considered him... Well, I wouldn't say I considered him all that useful, but I never really found a reason to use him all that much. So anyway, here's Pitch plus Fireball. Pitch moves forward as a Fireball. Okay range. Pretty much half a screen's worth. It's alright. And Pitch plus Ice. Can you aim downwards with this? You can't aim downwards with this, but you can aim upwards with the Ice Breath. And you can freeze enemies. Pitch plus Parasol is pretty weird. You basically hit Pitch like he's a golf ball. And you press Y again to get him to come back. You can even do it in midair. Now, if you press Y, he'll just shoot him fairly straightforward. But if you press Y before he finishes the animation, you can do like a very high shot, or you can do a slightly higher shot that still goes forward a little bit. And in case you move, or rather, you just have to press Y and he'll just return to you. I'm going to wait for that ability star to disappear because I pressed select on the wrong place. And Pitch plus Cutter, little interesting boomerang attack, fairly decent range. I do like that. And you can move while you're using it too, which is pretty cool. And here's Pitch plus Broom, which lets you shoot a water balloon forward. Basically, Pitch turns into a mop bucket, and you throw a ball of water at people. We use this for the Flower Heart Star in World 2. Pitch plus Spark is pretty interesting. Basically, Pitch will fly back and forth. You can control him with the control pad, and you can just make him turn corners and whatnot. And if he hits any enemies while electricity is going through them, they will get shocked and they will get zapped, and you will be able to get rid of them. Pitch plus Needle. Well, this is a weird attack. You get continuously dragged forward while Pitch's beak just jabs at everything. Not the fastest. It doesn't take you very far with each stab, but it is rather hilarious. Gotta be pretty close to enemies to hit them with this, though. And Pitch plus Stone, the last thing that I have left to show off. You don't have to be in the air to do this, just press Y, and you'll automatically get the dust clouds. Same distance as with everyone else. You can also control it by holding left or right, and you'll be able to jump and turn Pitch into a stone while jumping in that direction. And that is basically it for the abilities video. Had a little bit of fun showing off all of the abilities here. And with that, that is the end of Let's Play Kirby's Dream Land 3. Okay game. Could have been better. Could have handled some stuff better. Because of that, it seems like a rather underrated game. Feels like a step down from Dreamland 2, but at least things got better a little bit with Kirby 64. And again, if I ever play that, you'll be seeing it here. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll be back with another game or video or something. Until then, this is PrinceWatercress. Take care. Stay safe. Thanks for watching, and see you guys later!